Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. In the distant future, when the stars had become well-worn paths for countless civilizations, humanity had begun to explore its place in a universe that was becoming ever more interconnected. It was not the size of a civilization, nor its technological prowess, that made a species truly influential in the eyes of others. It was culture. Culture had a way of transcending boundaries, of creating bonds where none had existed before, and of allowing even the most diverse of species to come together in harmony. In this ever-expanding galaxy, where new civilizations and new ideas were constantly emerging, it was an idea from humanity, a small, often overlooked species on a seemingly insignificant planet, that would change the course of galactic cultural history forever. It began with music, an ancient form of expression that humans had long cherished, passed down through generations as an integral part of their identity. In Earth's history, music had served as both a mirror of society's most intimate struggles and as an aspirational force that pushed humanity to explore new boundaries of emotion, intellect, and unity. And yet, despite the advances of human civilization, there had always been divisions, political, racial, and societal, that, although lessened over time, still created tensions. But through music, humanity had found a way to break down barriers. Art had a way of making individuals and groups transcend the harshest of divides. In the era of interstellar exploration, when humanity had made contact with hundreds of alien species, the galaxy was a cacophony of sounds, many of which were wholly alien to human ears. There were symphonies crafted by creatures whose musical instruments defied the laws of physics, alien rhythms that pulsed through space itself, melodies woven from the very fabric of light, and harmonies that could only be understood by species with vastly different forms of consciousness. Yet, despite this overwhelming diversity of sound and cultural richness, there had been no universal expression, no common language that could unite all these differences into a single form of art that transcended borders. It was at this pivotal moment in galactic history that a group of visionary musicians from Earth, led by a conductor who was as ambitious as he was passionate, proposed a radical idea: the creation of the first multiracial orchestra, a musical ensemble where humans would play alongside beings from every corner of the galaxy, each contributing their unique instruments, sounds, and traditions. The goal was not just to play music, but to weave together the very essence of each species' culture into a single, harmonious performance, a transcendent experience that spoke not just to the beauty of sound, but to the universal potential for cooperation, understanding, and unity. The concept was met with skepticism by many, both on Earth and across the galaxy. Different species, after all, had their own distinct musical traditions, and the idea of blending them into a single cohesive sound seemed not only impractical but perhaps impossible. How could a species that communicated through telepathy harmonize with one that spoke only in clicks and vibrations? How could beings with radically different perceptions of time, some whose lifespan was a mere few months, while others could live for centuries, be expected to synchronize in such a way that their music wouldn't become a jarring mess of dissonance? Despite the doubts, the project gained momentum when humanity's leadership in the arts and sciences agreed that the effort was worth pursuing. The first step was the creation of the orchestra, which was dubbed the Symphony of Unity. Musicians, composers, and conductors from all over Earth were selected to represent humanity's diverse musical traditions, from the classical symphonic style of Europe to the rhythmic folk music of indigenous cultures, and even experimental and electronic compositions that had emerged in the modern age. But these musicians would not be alone. Representatives from species across the galaxy, each with their own unique soundscapes, were invited to participate. Some came from species with no musical tradition per se, but who could nonetheless produce mesmerizing sounds from the natural world around them. Others had developed instruments beyond anything humanity had imagined living, sentient strings that could vibrate with an almost organic tone, wind instruments that used the electromagnetic spectrum to produce hauntingly beautiful melodies, and percussive instruments crafted from the natural rhythms of gaseous atmospheres on distant moons. As the orchestra took shape, it became clear that the path to harmony was not one of simple compromise. The challenges were manifold. First, there was the issue of the sheer number of instruments. Some species had complex, multi-dimensional instruments that required not only precise control of movement, but also an understanding of intricate resonance patterns. Others communicated entirely through vibrations that could not be perceived by human ears. The technical challenge of making all these disparate elements work together was enough to deter many, but the conductor, a man by the name of Victor Hallström, was undeterred. He was a visionary who believed that art was more than technique, it was about connection. Through his experience with human music, he knew that even the most radically different styles and instruments could find a way to exist in the same space, as long as the musicians had the right guidance and the right willingness to understand one another. Hallström's first task was to bridge the gap between species, to teach them the concept of mutual respect and understanding. The orchestra wasn't going to simply play the music of one species or another. Instead, they would learn to play each other's music. Humans would not dictate the terms of performance. Each musician, from whatever species they came, would be given the chance to express their traditions through this new medium. This was not about showing off one species' musical prowess over another. It was about creating a dialogue where every instrument, every sound, could be heard and appreciated. The process was slow, fraught with misunderstandings and missteps. Some species could not understand how their music could fit with others, and others struggled with the complex rhythms that humans found so simple. The telepathic beings in the group found it hard to communicate with those who could only rely on spoken language or music, while the insectoid species, whose sense of rhythm was based on highly complex, fractal-like patterns, had to find ways to communicate their intricate beats to the more linear-thinking species. The tension was palpable. But gradually, the orchestra members began to find ways to break down the barriers that had separated them. They experimented with new instruments, created hybrid pieces, and slowly but surely began to find common ground. Victor Hallström, ever the optimist, had always believed that art was the true language of unity. In this chaotic blend of sound and tradition, he could see the potential for something extraordinary. There was a beauty in the collision of rhythms, the clash of harmonies, something raw and real that spoke to the collective soul of the galaxy. There was no perfect harmony, there would never be, but there was something deeper, more profound, an acknowledgement of the shared existence of all species, a recognition of their differences, and the belief that those differences were worth celebrating, not shying away from. After years of practice, the orchestra was ready for its debut performance. The stage was set on a neutral planet, chosen not because of its beauty or grandeur, but because of its symbolic meaning. This was a place where no one species held dominance, but where every member of the galactic community could come together as equals. The concert hall was massive, built to accommodate beings of all sizes and forms, some sitting in chairs, some floating, others standing on platforms, and as the first notes of music began to play, something extraordinary happened. It was not perfect. The music was at times discordant, at times beautiful in ways that humans had never known, and at others so strange that the audience was left bewildered. But it was, above all, a shared experience. The sounds, though alien in some ways, were unmistakably human in others, and the music, though alien to some, was undeniably beautiful. The telepathic beings transmitted their emotions through the music, allowing the audience to feel their messages directly, while the Multiracial instruments vibrated in ways that resonated with the very core of every listener's being. And, perhaps most remarkably, the music conveyed a sense of community, of solidarity, of shared purpose that transcended language, species, and history. The performance was a turning point in the history of galactic culture. It was not just a concert, it was a declaration of unity. It demonstrated, in no uncertain terms, that despite the differences between species, they could come together and create something extraordinary. The Symphony of Unity became a symbol not just of musical achievement, but of the potential for cooperation, empathy, and understanding that existed across the galaxy. As news of the concert spread, many alien species who had previously been hesitant about the concept of a multiracial orchestra began to see its potential. They, too, began to experiment with their own forms of hybrid music, blending the traditions of their species with those of others. The impact on galactic culture was profound. Musical festivals were held across the galaxy, where species gathered to share their songs, learn from each other, and create new, hybrid forms of music. The concept of unity through art began to permeate all aspects of galactic life. Political leaders from across the galaxy, once content to sit in isolation or at odds with one another, began to look at this new shared experience and recognize its power. Music, as it had done for humanity, began to show the way forward. Over time, humanity's role in galactic culture became increasingly significant. Earth was recognized as a world not just of technological advancement or military strength, but of creativity, empathy, and innovation. The multiracial orchestra, which had begun as an impossible dream, became a lasting symbol of humanity's commitment to fostering unity and understanding through culture. In an ever-expanding galaxy filled with infinite possibilities, it was music, humanity's gift to the stars, that would inspire generations to come. And so, the orchestra played on.